So what was it I've done? Oh, what was it I'm supposed to have done? So,
the offences that I've arrested you on suspicion of being involved in were blackmail, causing or inciting a child to engage in sexual activity, possessing indecent images of children.
Sounds like the rap sheet from hell.
This footage captures the moment a well-respected 29-year-old university professor was arrested for crimes so horrific they shocked the entire UK. By day, Matthew Falder was a brilliant academic. By night, he was 666 Devil, a sadistic manipulator who used the internet as his personal weapon, forcing hundreds of victims into acts of unthinkable humiliation and suffering. From 2009 to 2017, he preyed on vulnerable people online, coercing them into sending him degrading images or, even worse, making them harm others, all under the threat of exposing their darkest secrets. He'd gain their trust, trick them into sending personal images, and then turn around and blackmail them, threatening to ruin their lives if they didn't comply. And once he got what he wanted, he'd post those images on some of the darkest corners of the web, earning status and respect among fellow predators. UK authorities described him as one of the most prolific and depraved offenders they had ever encountered. But this story isn't just about the dangers of the dark web. It's about how true evil can hide in plain sight. It's about how someone who seems completely normal, even accomplished, can be living a horrifying double life, and how, in the wrong hands, a keyboard can be just as dangerous as any weapon. But to really understand how we got here, let's go back to the beginning. Matthew Falder grew up with every privilege imaginable. His family lived in a massive Victorian mansion in an upscale part of Cheshire, UK. He went to top-tier private schools, had all the opportunities in the world, and basically lived a life most people could only dream of. After high school, he attended Cambridge University, where he was popular among his peers. People saw him as outgoing, funny, and full of life. On top of that, he was a brilliant scientist specializing in systemic oceanography, earning both a master's and a PhD. By the time he was arrested, he was working as a postdoctoral researcher and lecturer in geophysics at the University of Birmingham. From the outside, he seemed like a well-rounded, successful 29-year-old guy who was even in a long-term relationship. But beneath that polished image, something much darker was lurking. And soon enough, the cracks started to show. Even back at Cambridge, Matthew was already displaying disturbing behavior. He secretly installed cameras in the bathroom of the house he shared with female roommates, filming them without their knowledge. At one point, he even admitted it to one of them, but when she reacted with shock, he laughed it off as a joke. This was just the beginning of his double life, charming on the outside, twisted on the inside. As time went on, his obsession with violating people's privacy escalated. On his 21st birthday, he invited a group of friends from Cambridge to his parents' various homes for a big getaway. But while everyone thought they were just celebrating, Matthew had an ulterior motive. He used the opportunity to secretly record unsuspecting women in compromising situations. From there, his depravity reached horrifying new levels. Matthew created a fake online persona named Liz and used the classified site Gumtree to target unsuspecting victims. Posing as a female artist, he reached out to people looking for babysitting or dog walking jobs, offering them up to £4,000, which is about $5,000, in exchange for nude photos. He claimed it was for his art therapy sessions, saying he needed reference images for charcoal sketches. But once he got the photos, he revealed his true intentions. He blackmailed his victims, threatening to send the pictures to their family and friends unless they sent him more, each request becoming more degrading than the last. One terrified girl, desperate to protect herself, ended up sending him over 200 images, fearing he would expose her if she didn't comply. But the more his victims gave in to his demands, the more twisted and degrading they became. Matthew didn't just want pictures anymore, he wanted full-blown humiliation. He forced them to record themselves doing horrifying acts like going into a McDonald's or public toilets in train stations and licking toilet seats or brushes. Some were even made to eat used sanitary products or even dog food. One male victim was pushed to the absolute extreme, blackmailed into eating his own feces and drinking urine. And when one 15-year-old tried to reason with him, hoping he he would stop, he sent her a cold, manipulative email saying, "I wanted to offer you two choices. A, you take some more photos for me, slightly different than before. B, I get upset and instead of sending money, I send printouts of all the pictures you have done to your address at many points in the future in envelopes that your mother is likely to open." The fear of their most private and degrading images being exposed pushed some of Matthew's victims to their breaking point. At least 4 of them attempted to take their own lives. And when one desperate victim begged him to stop, saying they couldn't take it anymore, his response was beyond heartless.
"Well, you might end it all, but that would not mean that your images don't get circulated. Your images will still be circulated to your family, and it will still be published online. So what good is that going to be to you? You have no choice. Your choice is either complete destruction or being a slave."
That one message alone tells you everything you need to know about him. He didn't see his victims as real people with lives, emotions, or dignity. To him, they were just playthings, puppets he could control, humiliate, and destroy for his own sick pleasure and the entertainment of others like him. He proudly shared his disturbing images with thousands of like-minded predators on dark web forums. One of these sites, Hurt to the Core, is known as the worst website in the world. The users there take pleasure in seeing others physically and mentally tortured. They are even rewarded for uploading the most extreme content, and Matthew, he was one of the top-ranked users. Matthew also posed as a teenage girl on a forum for sufferers of eating disorders, where he tricked a vulnerable teen from Eastern Europe into becoming his girlfriend. In an online exchange with another user, he said to her,
"I am thinking of just betraying her as harshly as I can, to see how much I can mentally fuck her up. I think there is even a bit of a chance of a suicide."
Another victim was a girl in foster care who was told her disabled brother would be taken away from her if she did not keep sending pictures of herself. Matthew demanded she pose with a sign that said, "I look after my disabled brother, and now I am being forced to strip." But that wasn't even the most evil thing that he did. At one point, he blackmailed a young father into committing despicable acts against his young son and filming the whole ordeal, which Matthew later shared with his sick friends. And he didn't stop there. He went even further, creating sick instructional videos on how to torment and humiliate vulnerable youngsters, and trust me, the things he encouraged, absolutely depraved. In some of his other posts, Matthew described plans to meet a blackmail victim in a secluded area, where he wanted them to tie themselves to a tree, lock the restraints, and throw away the key to make sure they die slowly and painfully. He also suggested a disgusting game where a curling iron would be inserted into a woman's private areas, and the only way to turn it off was by answering a question correctly. It's hard to even wrap your head around how messed up that is. But the most chilling part? Matthew took pride in his sick behavior. He constantly boasted to his victims about how he was a master at manipulation and that no one could ever catch him. He used encrypted emails, advanced TOR software, and even email accounts based in Russia, fully aware it would make it nearly impossible for the British authorities to track him down. Online, he even had 70 different identities, going by names like In the Garden, 666 Devil, and Evil Mind. For years, he really thought he outsmarted everyone, but his luck was about to run out. Matthew's sick online activity came under law enforcement's radar in 2014 when he made a particularly disturbing post under his alias 666 Devil. In the post, he was asking for suggestions on how to torture his daughter during what he called Hell Week. This sparked a nationwide manhunt by the National Crime Agency, NCA, to find and protect the girl, who was later identified as the daughter of one of his victims. The investigation stretched over 4 years, during which detectives connected 666 Devil to 2 other dark web aliases, Evil Mind and In the Garden, both of which Matthew used to torment his victims. With intelligence from the NCA, US Homeland Security, Australian Federal Police, and Europol investigators finally tracked a person of interest to an address in Birmingham. Surveillance footage later confirmed their suspicions. They caught him logging into the dark web and setting up hidden cameras in bathrooms and showers. Then, on June 21st, 2017, authorities stormed his workplace and arrested him on the spot. And his reaction? Pure shock. Body cam footage of the arrest shows Matthew completely stunned, struggling to understand what's happening. As officers cuffed him, he downplayed the severity of his actions allegations, claiming he was innocent. He even tried to rationalize his dark web usage, saying he only used it to hide his online activity from his girlfriend, as if that could explain his crimes. When he was asked what he was being accused of, the officer read out just a few of the charges, to which he replied, "Sounds like the rap sheet from hell." And it was. A search of his apartment turned up 484 illicit images on his computer. Further digging revealed that his uploads on Hurt to the Core had earned him VIP status, a sick reward for his twisted contributions. Matthew was ultimately charged with 188 offenses, making him one of the worst blackmailers and child exploitation offenders in history. Investigators believed he had between 60 and 180 victims. Scott Crabb, a senior investigator with U.S. Homeland Security, didn't mince words, calling him a monster and pure evil. He added,
Falder is absolutely the worst child exploitation and blackmail offender I have ever seen.
Matt Sutton, a senior investigator with the NCA, echoed those sentiments, saying,
In more than 30 years of law enforcement, I've never come across an offender whose sole motivation was to inflict such profound anguish and pain. Matthew Falder reveled in it.
Sutton also emphasized how extremely difficult the case was, thanks to Falder's advanced skills in hiding online. He was deep in the darkest corners of the dark web, convinced he was untouchable. But no matter how careful he thought he was, time ran out. Investigators uncovered that Falder targeted over 200 people, many of them vulnerable individuals who were simply looking for work or financial help. He scoured platforms like Gumtree, preying on people who needed babysitting gigs, dog walking jobs, or even a place to stay. His victims weren't just in the UK, they were in the US, Canada, Australia, and Slovenia. Will Kerr, NCA's director of vulnerabilities, issued a chilling warning. When news of his crimes broke, everyone who had ever known or interacted with him was horrified. Cambridge University issued a statement saying that they were appalled and they were actively working to strip him of his qualifications, which is an extremely rare move for the institution. Birmingham University was also shocked and disturbed by the whole situation. Gumtree, on the other hand, said they were glad about his conviction and stressed that they take user safety very seriously. There's a brief clip of his interrogation where Matthew keeps saying no comment when asked about his crimes. Eventually, he did give two prepared statements, admitting he was behind the Evil Mind account.
Have you sent pictures of your blackmail victims to the parents?
No comment.
Of the victim, the grandparents?
No comment.
The workplace?
No comment.
The schools?
No comment.
In court, one of his victims, a young woman, courageously spoke out about what she went through. It all started when she was 15 and she posted an ad on Gumtree, looking for babysitting work while studying for her exams. Matthew, pretending to be a depressed female artist named Liz, tricked her into sending nude photos under the guise of tasteful illustrations. But the moment she sent the photos, his tone changed. He became cold and threatening, blackmailing her into performing humiliating and degrading acts, some so disturbing they're hard to even say out loud. In just 2 months, he had forced her to send photos of herself licking toilet seats, a brush, and even a used tampon. The mental toll was devastating. She described how Matthew controlled her life, saying,
Every day when I woke up, there would be a message. When I came home from school, there would be a message. When I wasn't actually talking to him, I was worried about when the next message was going to come through.
She couldn't concentrate in school, she was terrified to go outside, afraid of running into him, but more than anything, she felt ashamed.
I didn't tell anyone. I was ashamed. Obviously, you've heard what the pictures were like. They were awful, and I didn't want my friends to think I wanted to do those things. But I felt like no one would understand because there was no one holding a knife to me saying, you will do this, even though it felt like that.
The trauma completely shattered her relationships with her family, friends, even potential romantic partners.
I don't talk to my family anymore, at all. I guess for me, I felt like they wouldn't understand what had happened to me. Because it happened online, people find it harder to understand. All relationships broke down. It's hard to have a family, a partner, and friends when you don't trust them. Eventually, they get upset that you don't trust them, and they just leave.
On October 16th, 2017, Matthew Falder pleaded guilty to 137 offenses against 46 victims, making him one of the most prolific sexual predators in British history. Then on February 19th, 2018, the Birmingham Crown Court, Matthew was sentenced to 32 years in prison, plus another 6 years on extended license after his release. However, after an appeal appeal, his sentence was reduced to 25 years with 8 extended licenses. The judge didn't hold back, calling him an internet highwayman who thrived on controlling others through fear. He pointed out how Matthew's behavior was manipulative, cruel, and relentless, leaving lasting damage on his victims. Those images, the judge said, will never go away, with victims knowing they're out there on the computers of strangers. For years, Matthew thought he was untouchable, hiding behind his screen and enjoying the pain he'd caused, but in the end, the law caught up with him. So what do you think about Matthew's crimes? Do you believe his sentence was enough, or do you think he'll go right back to his old ways once he's out? Let's talk about it in the comments, and if you thought this video was disturbing, just wait till you see what's coming next. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you never miss an update, and most importantly, stay safe out there.